Now I hand over our today's proceeding to my NSS volunteer, Mr. Ravinder Rao. So, Ravinder, here your platform is there. Please take over.
Am I audible? Am I audible to you all?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shubhra, face to face with such a wonderful personalities of the Jammu and Kashmir and all over the world. Thank you so much. So let us begin today's function of the three-day international conference on the teaching, learning, and education. So I'll start with a beautiful quote by Mustafa Kamal Atabak, sir. He says, "A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others." So I think it's a beautiful thing that he says, and we must agree with what he says. To start today's function, I'm going to start with the plenary session number 1, and for this we have a beautiful and a very wonderful personality and and a speaker with us. Yes, I'm talking about Mr. Dr. Amitabh Vikram Dwivedi, sir, Faculty, School of Languages and Literature, Shri Mata Vaishno Devi University, Katra. For him, I would like to say that Dr. Amitabh Vikram Dwivedi is a Harvard University certified in the art of writing and public speaking, and a university faculty specialized in linguistics and literature in the School of Languages and Literature at Shri Mata Vaishno Devi University, India. His research interests include language documentation, writing descriptive grammars, and the preservation of rare and endangered languages in the South Asia. His published books are found in the libraries of University of Stanford and the Princeton. He has contributed numerous papers to many science citation index and Scopus journals, and contributed more than 180 research chapters to the knowledge resources, chiefly EBSCO and to encyclopedias. He has also been a co-director for the research project entitled A Comprehensive Study of the Cultural Philosophy, Literature and Language, sanctioned by the Indian Council of Social Science Research. So with these words, may I please welcome on the screen Dr. Amitabh Vikram Dwivedi, sir. Over to you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Ravinder, for your kind introduction, and I'm thankful to Dr. Shubhra because she invited me for the plenary session. So I'm thankful to Dr. Shubhra as well, and I welcome all the participants. And I know Dr. Abhimanyu for many years, and I also thank Dr. Shushma Chauhan. So the topic of my presentation, my talk is humanities and technology, a study of resistance to computer mediated teaching. So I have also prepared a slide, and it will be a visual experience for you. So I'm sharing the slide, and yes, wait a minute. And I hope now you are able to see the slide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's clearly visible.
Yeah. So I would like to just describe what I'm going to do in this presentation: humanities and technology, a study of resistance to computer mediated technology. So I'm talking about how certain teachers who are the part of humanities, they are actually resistant to computer mediated technologies. What are the factors associated with this resistance, and how they can be benefited if they use technology, and what are the things that can be done to motivate them, to persuade them so that they can use technology in teaching. So first thing is we need to understand this nature of the resistance and what are the factors involved. One thing that we already know, that the present day students are known as digital natives and net generation. But again, I am a bit skeptic about these terminologies, that the present generation students are digital natives and net generation. Why is it so? Because if you are all the time busy on Facebook, if you are all the time watching Netflix, if you are all the time doing WhatsApping and Facebooking, and then you claim that we are digital natives and net generation, then I am quite sorry as a teacher that this is not the qualification that you are always active on social networking and browsing net, but not utilizing that facility in your studying. So you are watching all the other stuff on YouTube, but you are not watching the addresses given by notable professors from Oxford, Cambridge, and others. So in a way, like I'm also skeptical to define students at digital natives. But let's say some good students or many good students are digital natives and they belong to net generation, then is it justified from a teacher's point of view that they resist to assist technology in teaching in a technological era? So this is a problem, that it is not justified. Then what is actually this resistance? So if we take help of Merriam-Webster online dictionary, then resistance is an opposing or retarding force. So this is one thing. So in this presentation, I will be dealing with factors contribute to faculty resistance. That is one thing. Second thing is how faculty can be prepared to understand technology. That is second thing. And the third thing is this faculty reluctance or unreadiness to technology, how it can be overcome through cognitively participation. So these are the things I am going to discuss in this entire presentation. Now, when I talk about or when I use this term in the title of my presentation, computer mediated technology, then it can be understood as online teaching, and someone who is teaching online, that teacher is also using this computer mediated teaching technology. So what is this? According to Coe and Rosen, teaching online means conducting a course partially or entirely through the internet, that we are doing all the time for past 1 year. And according to Lisa, an online teacher promotes the achievement of learning objectives by facilitating engagement to empower students as lifelong learners. We need to look at whether we are doing that or not. And according to Conrad and Donaldson, lecture is effective for knowledge transmission, but if it is the primary strategy used in online environment, the course becomes a digital correspondence course. So we also need to look at, when we are teaching online, whether our teaching is like a digital correspondence course or it is actually a computer mediated technology. So whether we are using this online teaching tool as an effective medium for knowledge transmission, or it is like some routine thing that we are doing, and we can't deal with the problems of the dropouts, the problems of like learners, they are not getting what a teacher is teaching. So these things are also very much involved when we discuss these things. First thing is we need to define the agents of resistance. So here agents is equal to teachers. So who are those teachers who are resistant, who resist this technology? So first definition is resistant teachers, and second is saboteur teachers. So teachers who have no plan on using technology in their class, even though they might be capable of using it. So one thing is like they are capable of doing that, but they are not doing that. That is the resistant teachers. But again, we have second type of teachers. They are known as saboteur teachers, who are not interested in new programs, but actually committed to stopping new ideas, such as technology implementation. So again, like one is disinterested and another one is simply against that using of technology. So we must reason that why we have resistant teachers, or why do we have these saboteur teachers. So the basic thing is like the teachers, they do not believe that technology is a powerful tool for teaching and learning process. But why is it the case, and whether this is true or not? So we need to ask some questions to these resistant teachers. We need to ask some questions to these saboteur teachers. And what are these questions? We can ask like, with whom do you spend your time most? Then possibly we will get the answer that they will spend their time with their iPad or their iPhone or their laptop. And we can ask second question, that do you agree that your smartphone or iPad is no less than a mini library? That means like lots of documents that you have in your iPad, in your iPhone, in your iPad, in your smartphone. So they will definitely say, yes, my device is like a mini library. So I have lots of photos, videos, and teaching material, lots of books, lots of papers that I have. We can ask one more question, that what do you prefer, to purchase a book in 100 GB or download it free? So this question we can also raise, that what do you prefer? So definitely they will say like, okay, if something if I am getting free of cost, then why not so? So that means they are quite aware of the benefit of technology, that uh, that they are using technology, they are getting benefited of that technology, and they are spending more time with the technology. So this is one thing. And when they are doing this, then why they are resistant? When they are doing this, then why we have saboteur teachers at all? This is also a matter of concern that we have. So we can enumerate the benefits of technology to them. For example, online teaching provides each student with first class learning opportunities. Yes, uh, a teacher, a course coordinator can not only can teach his or her course, but also assist his or her teaching with the lectures, with the resources that are available on YouTube, which are available on internet. So that means like online teaching provides each student with first class learning opportunity. That is a valid point. Then we can also enumerate the benefit that online teaching tailors the need of individual students through hybrid or blended learning. So teacher can mix this online teaching with this offline teaching method. That is also very much a possibility. So this hybrid or blended learning is very much possible. So sometimes you can use a video, sometimes you can send other document to your students, they will watch, they can participate. So that type of thing is very much possible. Then we have one act in US, No Child Left Behind, and I hope that in every country, in every nationality, we have such type of acts where the goal is that every child must get education. And how this will be possible? It will be possible through online teaching, because with online teaching we can reach to many. So we can enumerate these benefit in order to persuade this teacher. But it is also important to find out what is there in their mind, that why they resist. So generally we find that the reason for this resistance is something cultural bearing. So technologies negate their cultural practice. So in certain cultures there is a possibility that to go online is not appreciated. There is very much a possibility in some in some traditional cultures that we have. I'm not talking about the Indian culture, but I'm taking into consideration the cultures that we have worldwide. And there is also a possibility because when you use online technology, then you are more vulnerable. That means anyone can capture your video, anyone can use your pic anywhere. So lots of cultural issues which are associated. At the same time, when you use online technology, then there is no time. So it is not the case like you are following you are following like 10 to 5 time, but it is like anyone is testing you, anyone is sending you message anytime. So again, this type of thing is also there. And in certain cultures, there is a possibility like your student is sending you a mail at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the night. Then obviously the people around you might object that, okay, why the student is sending you a mail this time. So that type of cultural bearing that we have, and that might be the reason of that resistance as well. Next, second reason is the fear, the apprehension that the computer will replace their jobs. So like not here, like someone raised the issue of this privatization. So what is this privatization after all? It means like if it is possible to to get to work with less people, then we will go for that. So this is the fear very much there in their mind. Then some sort of embarrassment is also associated. Some teachers, they feel embarrassed because they are not experts. So sometimes there is a possibility that how to conduct an online meeting, your student is more proficient than you, and there is a possibility that you feel bit embarrassed that, okay, I do not know, but my student knows more than me. So this type of thing is there, and you must be ready for the change of roles, that okay, sometimes there is a possibility that my student will become my teacher when it comes to technology. So if you are so stubborn, if you are so strong headed that okay, no, I am the teacher and my student will always remain my student, then definitely you are going to find it quite a problem. You are going to find many problems, because this will create a sort of embarrassment for you. At the same time, like the frustration that we have, like once you are angry in four walls, then definitely you are angry in front of the students, and that's the story. But once you show your anger uh, for any such reasons, like when you are not copying with this technology, or when you are not managing things well, then that anger will become quite a public thing. So, and we know that certain people, they have their control on emotions, but certain people they can't control. So that type of thing is there, that whether you are becoming emotional, you are becoming sad, you are becoming happy, everything will be on display. So that thing is also quite put teachers on the vulnerable scale. Then adequate time. Teachers resist technology use if adequate and comfortable time is not given to them to learn. Now, what is happening? Teachers who have been teaching for past 15 years, 20 years, suddenly they receive one notification. Okay, you need to use Google Meet now. You need to use this Zoom meeting, and you need to conduct your classes. They are not prepared for that. They are not prepared for that, in the sense like there are many teachers who do not know how to make an effective PPT. There are many teachers who do not know how to speak in front of camera. So that means, like, are we giving those teachers adequate time so that they make themselves comfortable in front of camera? Because okay, I can talk to the camera, but I cannot assume the same situation for all the teachers. Then technology as a craft, like this platonic idea, like okay, teaching is an art and technology is a craft, so we don't want to mix art with craft. So this type of thing is also there, like okay, teaching is an art and technology as a craft. Technology is something mechanical, teaching is something artistic, aesthetic. So how can we mix them? And even if we mix them, then what will be the resultant? So many teachers feel that technology is a craft, and they have lots of fear associated with that, that our teaching will also become quite mechanical. Then loss of control, as I have said, like sometimes you need to make your student your teacher when it comes to technology. When you do not know, let's say, how to convert a Word file into PDF, or you do not know how to convert how to upload let's say an online video on YouTube, or how to download a video from a YouTube. So if you do not know these things and your student is assisting you in that, then obviously there is a power shift. So that means, like, you will feel that okay, now things are not in my control and I'm losing control over certain things. Then access uncertainty. Teachers feel uninformed about where the change will lead to and what is coming next. Yes, this is very much there, that we do not know how the things will be there in future. And then more work, definitely. If you are teaching online, then it is not the case like you are sitting at home and teaching whatever you feel like. Your video is also off and students are listening to you. So that is not the case. You are unprepared, you are saying something. That is not online teaching actually. So some teachers, they know, like going for online teaching will bring additional things to learn. And they say like, okay, we have our own family, we have our children, we have lots of people to look after. So if we devote all the time to this online teaching and learning this new technology, then our entire world will go. So this thing is there. So there is no time to do it all. So that's why this is also the reason for this resistance. Lack of skill. Some teachers feel that they do not possess the adequate skills to implement technology. That is very true. At the same time, administration is not providing them training. And if there is a training, let's say for 1 week, and the administration assumes like my work is over. But administration must consider this thing, that online technology is continuously changing. It is not the case like you have learned something and that will remain for 5 years. Within 3 months, there is some change in technology. Then there is some new software. Then again, you need to learn that new software. There is some other skill. So that means like administration must provide continuous training to those those teachers, so that they will be updated. That is another thing. And fear of failure, we have already discussed. So these are the reasons that we have. Now we will look at what is happening in the present scenario, what is happening right now. Teachers are conducting online classes through Zoom, Google Meet, and regular students have become online learners. So there is one transformation you have. So once you are in a class, you can look at each student and you can very easily find out whether a student is getting what I'm teaching or not. But through Zoom, through online meet, it is not possible. And it is also not possible that you always look at, okay, whose camera is on, whose let's say audio is off. If the camera is not on, then you are quite suspicious. Okay, my student is not listening to me, that's why the video is off. So if you are into so much things like this, then definitely it will create a huge problem for that, and sometimes a psychological problem. So instead of focusing on like whose camera is on, whose camera is off, you need to focus on like how I can deliver better. That is the thing. Then some teachers are facing tremendous difficulty while conducting online teaching. That is true. Then what is the fact and what it will come out? Like competent teachers are in a win-win situation, definitely. Whereas incompetent teachers will be exposed. So I am also a teacher, but I know like there are some teachers who are not competent enough. In their subject matter as well as how to use technology. So there is very much a possibility that those teachers are becoming the saboteur teachers, saboteur agents, because they know that if we teach or we start teaching online, then our incompetency will going to be exposed and eventually we will become obsolete. So this thing is also we need to keep in mind. So we can embrace technology. It is easy. No, there are challenges associated with that. And what are those challenges? So teachers are not equipped with online teaching tool. That is one thing. Like administration is assuming that you have a fine laptop that works very well and it is well advanced, because it is not possible for you to teach or share something using your smartphone or mobile. That is not easy thing. So if you are not equipped with, like students who attend all the lectures on mobile phone, I always tell them that okay, this is not the way, because you are going to lose so many things. So prepare or buy some good laptop where you can do that. But teachers, they know that okay, we are using online teaching tools, so administration must provide us some tools so that we can use it. Then some behavioral issues from students end as well. Obviously, like you do not know like who is saying what or what they are actually doing, or you lose control. Behavioral issues are associated when there is a big class, let's say of 100 students or 150 students, then there are some behavioral issues as well. Then no adequate technical support. Yes, that means like you can't control the power cut, you can't control when there is a net failure. So teaching is okay, but what about testing? Like, okay, you can teach online, you can upload your videos, but when it comes to testing, then there is no control as such. You do not know whether my student is copying from some other student, my student is copying from online site. That means like for online testing, you need to prepare a question paper very carefully, and you need to devote so much of time, because you know that otherwise there will be no real testing, because everyone is sharing each other's answer. So how I'm going to do that? How do I know that my students are actually learning? That is also the question, because face to face, you look at your student's eyes and you very clearly know that a student is getting something. But here, that is a problem. That classroom teaching versus online teaching, now everything is like online. Then insecurities and inhibitions we have already discussed. So what are the do's that you need to follow if you are going to embrace this online technology? The teacher must have supporting teaching materials with him. So it's not the case like I am online, then definitely like just I have opened the window Google Meet. But if you can keep something that is in the hard copy, something that is in the hard form, something some files that is PDF, something that is PPT, some other sources, then obviously it's favorable. Teachers must utilize his or her time adequately. That is also important, because back to back you have classes, and let's say like if you do not know the way which are not in your control, like network failure and power failure. So that means like if you have 1 hour, then you need to utilize that 1 hour very, very carefully, that okay, I will only impart the information, the knowledge to my students. Then when it comes to language teaching, then definitely we must focus on these 4 skills. But after all, we need to make our students a thinking being. So it's not like the rote learning they are doing, that whatever you have taught and they are just simply delivering that thing. So how to encourage resistant and saboteur teachers? So teachers would embrace technology if they knew they would be rewarded for using it. So if there is like, this is very common thing, like if they get some even oral appreciation or some sort of appreciation, then they are definitely going to embrace this technology. Until computers are made available for most students, teacher cannot be expected to utilize technology based activities. So again, we are dependent upon teachers, sorry, students. So let's say I have a very good fine laptop with me, a very modern setup, but my students are still looking at let's say a mobile phone. Then obviously, like how well I teach, they will not get the entire thing that I want to deliver. Without the level of training and support they need, many teachers do not use technology to their advantage for grading. Okay, we have discussed organizing lessons and things. So training is very important, support is very important. A minimum number of professional development working days should be enacted. So how to solve this problem, like how to persuade these resistant teachers or saboteur teachers that like for learning technology, at least like in a month, 2-3 days will be there, that okay, these 3 days are totally dedicated to professional development working days. Then a person with technology training and experience should be employed to tutor the teachers in the technology use. So that is like, if some faculty is getting the charge of this training, then obviously that faculty must get one day off for that particular purpose. It is not the case like you need to take all your classes, and in addition you also need to teach other faculty members how to use technology. Then it will be an additional burden to that type of teacher. Make the learning more gradual instead of putting deadlines. Yes, in place of putting deadlines, then regular continuous learning is required. Then teachers should be encouraged to use technology in useful ways, like email is to be encouraged in place of like offline offline sharing notices or other circulars. Then email is to be, then list serve, like you can send one mail to hundreds of people, so that type of thing is there. All such things are to be encouraged. Then compulsory training for teachers, yes, that is very much a requirement. And the next thing is, teachers need not commanding languages to learn the use technology. Instead, use persuasive language. So when there is a deadline, then what is the problem with the deadline? Deadline comes with a commanding language, and it is a human tendency that when something is commanding, then there is a resistance. So in place of using this commanding language to teachers, because after all you are going to use your resources, the same human resources. So instead of commanding them, use this persuasive language, that what will be the benefit for them, instead of like asking them that, okay, 7 days you must learn, otherwise this thing will happen. So for that, then Dr. Balia mentioned the new education policy, that gamification. So this gamification, we can very much we must embrace this gamification and problem based or case based learning. So according to Harriet's case based learning, when we design a lesson, we try to understand that whether with this lesson we are telling a story or not, whether my teaching is arousing any interest among students or not. So like I'm creating a sort of empathy to my students or not. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind, that whatever you are going to teach, keep it short, precise, to the point, particularly when it comes to online. And then must have pedagogic utility. So you must tell that what they are going to learn from this 1 hour session. So if they are not informed in that manner, then definitely there will be some issues related to pedagogic utility as well. So let's say, because I am a field linguist and I work on languages, so I want to teach my students these two sounds, like per sound is a Fortis sound and bur sound is a Lennis sound in phonetics. So how can I teach? How can I can make a story? So Fortis means like strong, and Lennis means weak. So we know that when we compare sound per as in pen and sound bur as in ben, per has more force. So that's why we call it Fortis. And because bur sound is weak, so we call it Lennis. So we can make a story like this. So as per sound, we have a character like Parker, and for bur sound, we have a character like Barber. So once upon a time, there were two friends, Parker and Barber. Though they were equal in their mental abilities, Parker was more powerful than Barber. So now this is a concept like this story, and you have named the characters with these sound initials like Per for Parker, Bur for Barker, and you have shown them this image then definitely they are going to remain that okay, pa is a Fortis sound and ba is a Lennish sound, because we know that there is only one difference in pa and ba sound, that both are bilabial, both are plosive, but pa is minus voiced, but ba is voiced. So basically, Fortis and Lennish are pronunciations of consonants with relative greater and lesser energy. So that type of thing you can just be creative and associate with your lessons. So before you start a lesson, then this type of slide or this type of thing you can also share. You can share like, okay, in this 1 hour, what are the glossary items you are going to learn, and then you can provide some definitions of the glossary items. For example, like I am going to teach English language through poetry. So I have told them like what is a phoneme, vowel, consonant, transcription, word order. That is fine. Then key examples I can give like PET and how you can transcribe PET. That counter example you can give like E is the letter but E is a sound. So like once A is written in slanted bars, then it is a sound, and when it is in quote, single quote, then it is a letter. That example you can give. Similarly, when in single quote S, it is a letter, but when it is in slanted bar, then it is a sound. Then you can also list the objectives: to teach English through sound poetry, this is the objective; to understand rhyme schemes. Then you can also prepare a video lectures, like you can also give them video lectures. So like one such lecture like of 1 minute I have prepared recently, and this can be an example, and I'm playing it for you. So you can see, like, you can also show your students these type of videos. I think you are able to see this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The expression chairman or a woman chairing a session, or expecting a female nurse in place of male when the doctor said the nurse will measure your temperature. The answer is provided by Sapir Whorf hypothesis. Two linguists, Sapir and Whorf, they claim that our reality is shaped by our language. Our word is determined. So when the translator fails to provide the translation for the expression Judah into English, the answer is hypothesis. The absence of expression results in absence of expression. Thank you. So this is like this type of videos, like one minute video, quite interesting. You can share with your students and they'll be quite delighted. They can watch it many times, and even like once they are writing their examination, then they can also do that. You can also provide them additional references like this. You can share podcast. uh, okay, sorry, my second lecture started. I'm sorry for that. Fine. So this is the thing that I was discussing, where I was. Yes. So I think let me share the slide because it's going to over soon. So I hope you are again able to see the slide. Yes. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. So you can provide them core reference, like these are the books that you can consult, and you can provide additional resources as well. You can create a podcast either on Anchor or on Spotify, and then you can also create a short test. For example, like teaching English language through poetry. Now I have selected these two lines, like come with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove. So you can also, like, once you have a class of 1 hour, and you can prepare a 10 minutes test. So it's not the test that they are going to do in the class. If you have time, then okay, they can do in the class, but at the same time you can give them an assignment like, okay, this is my lecture and this assignment you are going to submit by 5 p.m. today. So like these two lines, and what am I asking, because I am teaching English language through poetry. So I'm asking like, what is the first question I'm asking? That is, try to identify any words which start with the same sound as another word. Fine. Then try to identify words which end with the same sound as another word. Fine. Then there's this type of questions I can ask. Then what is the meaning of be here in the first line? What type of sentence structure in the line one? In line one, come and live, two verbs come together. How can you think of a context where you use such constriction, fine. What is the role of coordination in this structure? Then what is a phoneme? Transcribe, you can give a couple of words to transcribe them. You can ask them about the rhyme scheme. So these are the things that you can do. And definitely when you start doing that, so first time you need to put your efforts, but these things are for lifetime, because next year again you are going to teach the same course, then you can again use these sites. So this is all, and thank you all of you for your patient listening. And if you have any question, any doubt, then I'll be happy to reply, answer.
Yes, sir. I have one question.
Yes, Dr. Abhimanyu.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, thank you so much for talking about the challenges, because the challenges that teacher faces in the technology. Before I ask the question, I would like just add two sentences that I know one of the cases in Kathua district, that there were only Bakarwal students or Gujjar Bakarwal students in the class, and when the summers came, they went up hills, and the teacher is not able to contact them for the online classes because they don't have the mobile phone. So certainly there are many challenges. The first challenge is to have the phone and the technology in hands of the student, and there are so many challenges that you talked about, and certainly we feel them. And about your YouTube shorts, I do watch your YouTube shorts regularly on linguistics.
Same here, same here.
Yeah, Shubhra also does that. Now I have a question, sir. My question is that you use the word persuasive language. So, what is the meaning of persuasive language here? Number one, either it means the manipulative language, being very cunning and coying in getting them to persuade them, or using the language with which they are comfortable.
The thing is, like, there is a Hindi proverb, अगर सीधी उंगली से घी निकल जाता है तो ठीक है, अगर नहीं तो उंगली टेढ़ी करनी पड़े तो फिर उंगली टेढ़ी कर लो. So I think, like, I have given you an answer that what I mean by this persuasive language.
I got it. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Any other questions from the audience side? The platform is open for the discussion and the questions from Amit sir. Any other questions from the audience? I think no more questions from the audience, because it clearly indicates that how beautifully you have made us understand about the language teaching and linguistics and phonetics also. Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful lecture on the language and teaching. And as a student of B.Ed program, it will help me and my friends also to become an efficient teacher and a best and a perfect teacher. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravinder, and I once again thanks all the organizers of this conference, and I thanks specifically Dr. Shubhra for inviting me for this plenary session. Thank you all. Thank you.